When you start making more money, the first things you want to upgrade are usually pretty predictable. A better phone, a more expensive watch, maybe a nicer car, something other people can actually notice. If you spent years saying no to things because they were too expensive, finally being able to say yes feels good. But this is where spending gets confusing. Some expensive things barely change your life, while boring purchases can make almost every day better. A $2,000 watch might feel special for a while. A good mattress affects you every night. A luxury wallet still just holds your money. A plane ticket might become a memory you're talking about 10 years from now. So once you have some financial breathing room, the question isn't whether you should spend more. It's which things are actually worth paying more for. The first is sleep. But think about your bed. You spend roughly a third of your life in it, yet people sometimes spend more on things they use a few times a year than on the place they sleep every night. A better mattress won't magically make you successful, but a bad night's sleep follows you into the next day. It affects your concentration, energy, patience, and even the small decisions you make without really noticing. So once you can afford better, always choosing the cheapest option for something that affects your sleep starts making less sense. Your mattress, your pillow, the temperature of your room, better curtains if light wakes you up, or getting a sleep problem checked instead of ignoring it. None of these purchases make you look wealthy, but you feel the difference every morning. The second is food. Cheap food and bad food are not the same thing, and expensive food isn't automatically healthy either. This isn't about turning every dinner into a restaurant reservation. It's about reaching a point where price doesn't have to be the only thing deciding what you eat. Maybe you buy better ingredients. Maybe you spend a little more on food that makes eating well easier. Because food isn't one large purchase you make once. It's a decision you repeat every day. And something that affects you every day can matter far more than an impressive purchase you enjoy for 2 weeks. The third is your health. One habit people carry with them after earning more is delaying basic maintenance. If a car starts making a strange noise, most people know ignoring it could make the repair more expensive. But when our own body has been telling us something for months, waiting somehow feels easier. Dental care, eye exams, physical therapy, a gym you'll genuinely use, good shoes if you spend most of your day on your feet. Nobody congratulates you for going to the dentist before something hurts. But sometimes the best thing money can buy is avoiding a larger problem later. Fourth is time. When money is tight, using your own time to save money makes sense. You cook instead of ordering. You fix things yourself. You spend an hour comparing prices to save $20. But as your income grows, that calculation changes. If a task takes you 2 hours and you can reasonably pay someone else to handle it, the question is no longer just, can I do this myself? You also have to ask, what am I giving up to save this money? Maybe those 2 hours could go into work, exercise, family, or simply getting part of your Saturday back. The point isn't to outsource your entire life. It's to recognize that money and time stop having the same relationship once your circumstances change. Money can be earned again. Saturday afternoon isn't coming back. And this is where the idea of expensive starts getting strange. A purchase can cost more and still be the cheaper option in the long run. Something with a low price tag can quietly cost you hours, energy, opportunities, and repeated frustration. So from this point on, price alone becomes a pretty bad way to judge whether something is expensive. Fifth is the tools you use for your work. More expensive does not automatically mean better. But there's a point where a cheap tool starts charging you in other ways. If your computer freezes every day, that costs time. If your microphone gives you results you constantly have to fix, that costs time. If your chair makes your back hurt after 3 hours, that affects how long you can work comfortably. If your software turns a 10-minute job into 40 minutes, you're paying for the cheaper option every day. A better tool makes sense when the tool itself has become the bottleneck. You don't upgrade because the expensive version exists. You upgrade because your current one is limiting what you can do. Sixth is access to better information. There's more free information available now than anyone could consume in a lifetime, so paying for it can sound unnecessary. But information has another cost: finding the right part of it. You can spend 3 months watching random videos, reading contradictory advice, and figuring things out through trial and error. Or the right book, course, consultation, or teacher might organize the same subject for you in a few days. You're not necessarily paying for secret knowledge. You're often paying for compression. Someone has already filtered the noise and put the useful parts in the right order. Once you have more money than time, paying to shorten the learning curve can make much more sense. Seventh is building actual skills. Information tells you how something works. A skill means you can actually do it. Knowing how video editing works is different from being able to edit a great video quickly. Reading about sales is different from being able to close a deal. The same applies to coding, writing, design, public speaking, music production, negotiation, or any other useful ability. Skills have something most purchases don't. They can keep producing value after you've paid for them. A phone gets old, clothes wear out, software gets replaced. But if you become genuinely good at something valuable, that ability can create opportunities for years. And spending more doesn't have to mean an expensive course. It could mean coaching, better practice tools, useful feedback, or more time to practice. The goal is not to collect education, it's to become more capable. Eighth is experiences. Experiences can feel strange because they leave almost nothing physical behind. You pay for a trip, the trip ends, and technically you come home with less money and no new object. That sounds like a bad deal if you only measure value by what you still own afterward. But physical purchases often work in the opposite direction. Buy a new phone and you'll notice it constantly for the first few days. A few months later, you pull it out of your pocket without even thinking about it. The object stayed. The excitement disappeared. Experiences can do the reverse. The event ends, but the memory can become more valuable with time. And it doesn't have to be an expensive vacation. It could be a concert, a weekend somewhere you've wanted to visit, a trip with friends, a class, or a genuinely memorable meal. The point isn't that experiences are always better than possessions. It's that money can buy more than objects. Sometimes it can buy a piece of your life that you'll actually remember. And the ninth thing is comfort. Not luxury for the sake of luxury. Everyday comfort. A better chair if you sit all day. Good shoes if you walk a lot. A suitcase that survives more than 3 trips. A jacket you wear constantly instead of 5 cheap ones you don't really like. Kitchen equipment you use every morning. Headphones you wear for hours. The important variable here isn't the brand, it's frequency. Before spending more, ask one simple question. How often am I actually going to use this? Paying twice as much for something you use twice a year might make no sense, but if you use something every day for 5 years, even a small improvement gets experienced thousands of times. And once you start looking at purchases this way, the difference between looking wealthy and living well becomes much easier to see. Most traditional symbols of wealth are designed to be visible. The watch, the car, the logo, the expensive accessory. There's nothing wrong with them. If you genuinely love something and can comfortably afford it, you don't need a financial argument to enjoy it. But many of the upgrades that make the biggest difference are almost invisible. Nobody sees the mattress you sleep on. Nobody knows your back stopped hurting because you bought the right chair. They don't know you paid someone to take a repetitive task off your hands and got your Saturday back. They may never know that the skill you developed last year is now helping you earn more. And they definitely won't see most of the memories you bought with that plane ticket. That's why earning more doesn't need to mean buying more expensive versions of everything. It means you finally have the option to be more selective about where being cheap is actually costing you. Sometimes you're paying extra for something other people will notice. Sometimes you're paying extra for better sleep, better health, more time, better work, useful skills, or experiences you'll remember for years. Both can have the same price tag. But they're buying completely different things. So, if you eventually have to choose between the impressive watch and the boring upgrade that quietly makes your life better every day, at least know what you're actually paying for. Because one of the best things money can give you isn't simply the ability to own more expensive things. It's the ability to stop choosing the cheaper option when the cheaper option is costing you more.